Good evening, good evening. Welcome to Detroit in Black and White, our Wednesday edition of Detroit in Black and White. On deck, you have the most wonderful, the most competent, the brilliant Allan Lengel of Deadline Detroit.
I knew
former,
it could only be one of the. I knew
former,
you could only find
I
one
thought you
caller.
must be talking about Jim.
I was like, no
formerly
way.
of the Washington Post. Hey, Allan, how are you?
Good, good. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Vanessa and Jim
And we
and
have the most,
Teresa. One day
yeah,
we'll have
Lady
Teresa
T.
out
Yep.
here.
And we have the most compassionate, the most empathetic, the understanding, the handsome, give it to you like you should get it, Mr. Jim Nardone, the former police chief of Trenton Police Department. Let's give it up for Jim Nardone. Hey, what's up?
Happy Wednesday night. Happy fall. I guess it's like in 2 hours. I went out for a walk. I thought it was 80 degrees when I came indoors about 3:30, and I went back out about 6, and it looked like a fall walked in the neighborhood.
Oh, wow. And of course, I'm back. I was gone a couple of days last week, but I'm back. Y'all see anything different about your girl?
You're here. You're due.
I told y'all. I told y'all he's smart.
You look like a judge. What happened to that judge in Detroit? We need to talk about that sometime too.
Oh, well, I'm gonna let y'all talk about it. I'm not gonna talk about it. All I can say is this. When I was running for 36th District Court, I was very aware of what was going on. Because in the legal field, just like any other field, people talk. And so I knew that there were some things that was going on. I knew that there were some hearings going on over there in the Wayne County Probate Court. I will say that it always seems to me that it's always the most vulnerable population that's either children or the elderly that are taken advantage of. I will also say that right now, all we have is salacious details in the newspaper. Um, there are allegations, there are no charges. So let's see what happens. But you guys can talk about it.
And
But
I can tell you. Go ahead, Alan.
yeah, I just because not everyone's following as closely as Vanessa is. The Robert Snell from the Detroit News Report said Detroit 36th District Judge Andrea Bradley Baskin, who's the focus of an FBI investigation, allegedly teamed up with two criminals to help buy and sell homes belonging to vulnerable individuals in the probate court system for far less than the property market value. Uh, and to note, the FBI investigation began before she was elected to the bench last November, and apparently is focused on her work as a lawyer. But there's certainly, you know, some hanky panky, as they say, going on over there. And I'm not sure if I can't remember what her status is, if they've taken away her criminal docket or
She's a
what.
probate judge, right?
No, no, no,
Oh,
no.
she's a
She's at
36.
36th District
Okay, sorry.
Court,
Yeah.
and she's on the
Oh,
the docket. That handles evictions and things like that.
oh,
So
so those were evictions because I was just going to suggest
no, no,
that.
no. But the the news article, and this is one of two because there was another article that came out a month or so ago.
Yeah, same.
This concerns work that she was involved in from 2016 on up. So it predates her becoming a judge. But when she was doing work as a lawyer over in the Wayne County Probate Court.
Okay, well now it makes sense.
So, and like I said, if it's true, it's unfortunate because you talk about a protected class of individuals. When people are in probate court under guardianship or conservatorship, that means that they can't take care of their business themselves. And so they're relying on the court, and there's oversight. You have to file. Um,
So she was a guardian ad litem. Is that what?
she was the attorney for the guardianship company.
Oh,
that
okay, I see.
represented these people, and she drafted paperwork. It was just they just
Allegedly.
the article was yeah, the article that I read today was extremely long. I see, when you guys brought it up, I see Allan, you have a story
Yeah,
here in
and
Atlanta, Detroit.
yeah, and basically one of the allegations is that she was involved in at least the sale of 5 homes owned by people who are either incapacitated, the elderly, those with mental health problems. In several instances, the homes were sold to the boyfriend of a court-appointed guardian after Bradley Baskin proposed the sale or drafted the deeds. So it sounds like the guy got them at cheaper rates, and then probably profited from that. So they were sold under value to this particular guardian, uh, and so that person apparently was able to profit from and take advantage of people who are disadvantaged.
So the information is on the Deadline Detroit website, Alan.
It's on Deadline Detroit, and it's really an aggregation of Robert Snell, who does a great job covering federal court for the Detroit News. So,
And if I could just, when you're done, I just wanted to add something.
Okay, so he is the reporter that does stories coming out of federal court.
he covers federal court.
Oh, wow. So that means he's looked at the documents and all of that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Documents. Yeah. So I mean that's the thing with these kind of cases when we're talking about sales and stuff like that. It's all there in paper. The FBI just has to.
And I also said her father's involved.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
I only have, I know it's a federal case, it's being investigated by the FBI, but I need to, if I could, I was both a guardian and a conservator for more than 7 years in the Wayne County, participating through the Wayne County probate court, and I want to take my hat off to a judge in that court, Judge Blackwell Hatcher, who I believe is now retired.
He is.
I was a police chief.
I talked to her the other day.
I was a police chief, and I went into her courtroom as both a conservator and a guardian for my dad, and she kicked my ass up and down. Thank God for people like Judge Blackwell Hatcher, who was an advocate for the people that came into that courtroom. She made sure that people weren't doing these kind of things, at least,
Yeah.
It's not new. It's this
Sure.
stuff going on where people are taking advantage. They're the executor of whatever, and they've taken advantage and stolen money from people, and we've seen it with lawyers that representing estates where they've stolen money and stuff like that. And that's up to the judges to try to help monitor that and make sure that's not happening.
And I never liked going before. I was like, I testified in all kinds of cases, including federal cases, but Judge Blackwell Hatcher, she gave it to me. She didn't let people get away with anything. And in hindsight, looking back on it, sure.
She was looking out for your dad.
Absolutely. And
she was looking out for your dad.
And everybody else that came into her courtroom, not just my dad, everybody. That's how she conducted herself. And we're lucky to have judges like that don't get pushed around. So.
And you know what? I will say that issues like this are an exception to the rule. I worked a long time over in Wayne County Probate Court. I don't practice as much as I used to over there, but I have a wealth of experience over there. I have friends that practice in Wayne County Probate Court. Good people, good, honest people, work very hard. And so it was just disappointing to see two of my, one is a colleague, one is a former colleague, to be embroiled in something like this. And, hopefully it'll all work out for everybody. But when you're talking about people that are elderly, I think I read where a couple of people have already transitioned. Is that correct, Allan?
Yeah.
They'll never be made whole, or their estate would never be made whole. And that's really unfortunate. If, like I said, if it's true, but if you got a guy that's doing a report straight from what they have on paper there from federal court, as opposed to what they hear on the streets, like I do.
No, he's gone through the documents.
That's
Hey, Vanessa, you want to say hi to our friends? They're out there
Yeah, absolutely. I was
participating.
going to give a shout out to everybody. Good evening, Gullah, Geechee, Deborah Harris, Edward A., Eric Brown, Mr. Duckett, um, Miss Sheila, Dorian Denard, Janet Overall, and Janet Saluk. Thank you guys so much for watching Detroit in Black and White. And you know what? You know what I'm getting ready to say, y'all. If you are watching Detroit in Black and White, you know what we want you to do. It's free of cost. We want you to subscribe, like, share. Hey, Jill, how are you? Hey, girl. We want you to like, subscribe, and share, and tell everybody about what the best show on these YouTube streets. And again, we thank you guys so much for watching us. We thank you guys for making comments. So I want to just say that I'm gonna read some of the comments and maybe we can comment. Mr. Brown says.
Mr. Brown, how formal.
Eric Brown says the hubris and arrogance of the woman speaks to how so many in politics lack character and integrity. She knew and still thought that her, you know what, her poop didn't stink. Well, she effed around and found out that the FBI ain't no joke. Ooh.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Yes, right. Miss Sheila
I'm
says,
just kidding, FBI.
Ms. Sheila said they need to investigate Cynthia Arvant Court also. What's the relationship and the money dance going on in Southfield? I guess she says there's something going on in Southfield. Um, and she says, is law, this is Ms. Sheila, she said, is law justice or relationships and money dance? Truth can't be negotiated in real life. Queen B says the real problem is when people are reporting information like deed fraud and probate fraud. The courts and the county rarely do anything about it. Yeah, well,
There's so much there. I mean, it's hard to tackle it all. But.
Yeah, and Dorian says, I'm addicted to Deadline Detroit. Yeah, Queen B says the real problem is when people are reporting information like deed fraud and probate fraud, the courts and the county rarely do anything about it. I, you know, I agree with you, Allan. It's so much there. You think about the county of Wayne and how many people you have in the county of Wayne.
Right.
You don't even have enough people to work at the at the counter, let alone to do these investigations. And so you have to be really diligent in saying, hey, this is wrong, and just not give up. You just got to keep banging on that door, as we say.
It's like Medicare fraud. The Medicare fraud, there's so many doctors and schemes going on with Medicare fraud. I always say if they hired more investigators for whatever, $80,000 an investigator per year, that one investigator could probably bring in like $10 million in fraud. There is so much. I mean, I've covered it in the federal courts. It's endless. It's endless. Pharmacists, doctors, just a lot of people who own clinics have been involved in all kinds of Medicare fraud.
So my question is, with things like this, I'm wondering, I don't know if this is true, but I know when I would handle cases, if people have property, usually if you have property or something like that, in order to qualify for Medicaid, you can only have so much money. I think it's like $2,000 or something like that. And so what you do is you do a spend down. You spend down the estate, make plans for the funeral, make sure that all their bills are paid. I had one client, look, you want to go on a trip, take them on a trip, do the spend down, and then they could qualify for Medicaid. But when you get into doing something like that, you got to make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, not, I don't know if this is what happened, but if you're selling a house and you're selling it, what was it, flipping the houses or something like that?
Yes, at a big profit. Buying the houses low and selling high, it looks like, if I'm wrong.
So the individuals then don't have much, right? So then they will qualify. I just hope it's not Medicaid fraud, because if you talk about Medicaid fraud, that's terrible.
Allan, tell me if I'm wrong. I think it was that they were representing the guardianship or conservatorship, and they were buying the houses at reduced rate, at fire sale, and selling them for 75% more than they paid for them. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
making profits. I mean, they were selling them, which I guess, and some estates you want to sell, but you don't want to get ripped off, and particularly when family members are tied to those estates, are going to benefit from those estates, but. It's such a scam, and I mean, there's so many cases.
Well, let me play devil advocate here, though. So, if you're an attorney, as an attorney, you have to bring that before the court. The court has to.
Absolutely. I sold my dad's house.
Is it them or is it the court? Because ultimately, it stops at the door of the judge. Okay, the judge has to approve the sale of the property.
Right.
I read in probate court, you need an order.
And then you have a guardian ad litem who does the investigating. So I don't know. I'm playing devil's advocate. I know what they wrote in the newspaper, but I'm thinking there's something else that was, there's more to the story than what
right.
we see.
Absolutely. I mean, who knows? Either the judge didn't do their due diligence, or the judge was wink, wink, go ahead, I trust you, or
maybe they trust it. Maybe the judge didn't see the property, and there's a lot of things that go on in a probate court, and maybe the judge thought, well, I'm dealing with an attorney that's licensed here. Right. They shouldn't be behaving that way.
How many judges are going to go and do like comps and check for the
drive-by?
So when I would do it, I know when I've done it in the past, you ask for the sale, you have to provide the court with all of that information, what the comps are, what the houses are. They have all that, and then they appoint a guardian ad litem who actually investigates and look at it and everything. So I'm like, I mean, I know the report says, the newspaper report says what it says, but there's a lot of stuff missing because I'm like, well, what happened? How did this happen?
Because the judge approves the sale and the price and everything else. You have to go before the judge and with your attorney and say, this is what the house is being sold for. This is what upgrades I made because I had to I did all that, right? Put in new floors and painted the house, do all those. So I'm not sure if it got lost in the shuffle, but it shouldn't be like that.
Well, I will also say this though. One of the things that we talk about is us being responsible as citizens, right? Us being responsible as voters. We need to know these people that we put in office, is all I got to say.
Yep, no question.
And when somebody is talking and saying, look, don't believe what you see, this person is saying, okay, this slate is endorsing this person. Do your homework.
Yeah, I think one of the sad parts is that we're seeing the media, Detroit News, the Free Press, the staffs keep dwindling and dwindling. I mean, not to be like back in the day, but when I worked at the Detroit News, we had somebody covering all the court. We had one reporter covered 36th District and Recorder's Court in Wayne Circuit. Then we had somebody covering Oakland County. I covered the federal courts for 8 years. So we were there all the time. We heard stories. We talked to people. I got one judge who was doing some kind of shady stuff. I got him kicked off the bench.
Really?
The other judge. Yeah. What happened was it was Judge Harvey out of Port Huron. He was a senior. He was on senior status. So he moved down to Florida. So he moved down to Florida half a year, but the other half a year he was practicing on the bench in Port Huron. So instead of declaring where he worked actually as his full-time residence, he claimed Florida was his full-time residence. So he got $90 per day per diem for living for 6 months. Every day he got paid $90 because instead of claiming Port Huron was where he worked and lived, he claimed Florida. And so it was legal what he did, but I went to the court administrator, and the court administrator tried to talk me out of it. He kept saying, well, it's legal. And I said, well, it's legal. I said, let people know about it, though. I checked every district in the country, No other judge was doing that. And I did the story. And I went to some of the judges before I did it, and they were kind of outraged that he was doing it. I did the story, and they, after the story came out, they told him, you need to step down. And so, but that was only because I hung out in the court all the time, and somebody whispered in my ear and said, "Hey, Judge Harvey's doing blah blah blah." We don't have that now. We don't have reporters full time, and in
Why not?
because the staffs keep shrinking and shrinking. I mean, the Detroit News has a full-time police reporter. I think the Free Press has one, but City Hall, we used to have three, 4 people at City Hall. Some of the places barely have somebody full-time. I don't know if there may be one full-time, but they're not doing a great job of doing that. But when I got to the Detroit News, the Lansing Bureau had 13, which was too much, but Lansing Bureau had 13 reporters. I was one of them. And my specific beat was Attorney General's office, but I also covered the Department of Corrections, and I covered the Capitol and all that. But we blanketed it, and nothing got by us, between us and the Free Press, nothing, and booth newspapers. And so now it's like these people are, people aren't hanging out in the courts. They aren't standing there. I mean, in federal court, I used to stand in the hallway, lunchtime, all the agents were going out, talk to people. They'd say, they throw a little tip here and there, go to retirement parties, go drinking with people,
Right.
always, eat, go to lunch with the judges, go to lunch with agents, and I'd be talking to some of the criminals who were calling me from jail and stuff. So we had it wired. It's just not happening. So stuff that's happening takes so much longer to come out,
Jill Sheridan asks, is it because people don't buy newspapers anymore? Ms. Sheila says, Allan, we need your voice to speak on truth. Defraud is the topic. Dorian Denard says, in law, it's all about who gets to the judge first. Everything else is, what did he say? Everything else is irrelevant. Deborah Harris says, Detroit City Council passes ordinance allowing city to prosecute misdemeanors for the first time. The council approved the measure by an 8-1 vote, with Council President Mary Sheffield casting the only dissenting vote. The change requested by Wayne County Prosecutor Ken Worthy is set to take effect July 1st.
Say what the heck is that all about?
Well, I think what they're trying to say is there's too big of a load in Wayne County Circuit Court, so they want the city to prosecute misdemeanors. But I don't know how that's going to work.
Explain that to me again. I'm confused. What?
The city council passed an ordinance that will allow the city to prosecute misdemeanors. So they have the Wayne County prosecutors, and they also have the city.
Yeah, they have the city. They handle city cases.
As the ordinance allowed the city to prosecute misdemeanors for the first time. The council approved the measure by an 8-1 vote. Council President Mary Sheffield cast the only dissenting vote. The change was requested by the Wayne County Prosecutor Ken Worthy. Is set to take effect July 1st, which is next July.
So she's okay. I think we need more time and more. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, if she said a civil court and she turned a lot of these misdemeanors into like loitering or smoking marijuana on your front porch, which is illegal, into a civil. Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
Go ahead, Allan.
Well, Jim would know, and Vanessa, obviously you would as well. But there's cities that can do. There's city prosecutors I know that handle small, traffic violations.
Yeah.
I guess the question is, I'm curious why Mary Sheffield voted against it, and secondly, how is that going to be funded? Is that, I mean, if the city ends up taking the burden from the county, that's not a particularly great idea.
Well, we know if Kim Worthy requested it, it must make some kind of sense, right?
Yeah, I don't know what I haven't really enough about
I'm like Allan. I'm going to say,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say yay or nay. And
Yeah, I don't think you should.
she said, who asked the question about why would the council president be the dissenting vote? She's running for mayor.
But I guess the question is, what is? I'd be curious. There must be a reason that she thought, or at least optic wise, she thought it would be a good idea to do that. But
I'm gonna tell you. I'm sorry.
She says, Deborah Harris,
Yeah.
listen, Detroit in black and white is the bomb because our viewers, like I said before, they educate us, right? We call ourselves educating them. They give us the tea. Deborah Harris says, now I saw the headline, but I didn't read the story. So Deborah Harris says that Detroit has budgeted $700,000 to hire 4 new attorneys and 2 new paralegals who will handle these prosecutions. The city will also retain revenue from the fines that previously went to the state.
Well, Terry,
listen, I don't know how that's going. Thanks, Deborah, for telling us that, but I still don't know. $700,000, paralegals, 4 new attorneys, and 2 new paralegals. That seems like a very small staff, but okay.
Well, let's talk about Terry's point. Terry, there's a district court in Garden City, so that misdemeanor in Garden City should be handled in the district court in Garden City, unless the whatever district court that is, unless something. We're talking about something different. We're not talking about a felony.
Right.
Felonies go down to right.
Yeah.
Felony
CJC. Correct. So Mr. Duckett says she is soft of crime. I think Mr. Duckett says she is soft on crime. Who are you talking about, Mr. Duckett?
I think we know, but I don't think we need to.
Kim Worthy. She's talking about Kim Worthy.
Oh, he's saying that Kim Worthy is soft on crime?
I mean, she might have been talking about you, Vanessa. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I think
she's soft on crime. I don't think anybody can say that she's soft on crime. I don't think so.
No. I wouldn't say that. I sometimes question some of her judgment on cases, but I don't.
We do. Where's Par Org? We need him to chime in on this. You know what? I didn't read the story, but I guarantee you by the time I come back on Friday, I'll be able to answer some of these questions because I just saw when I picked up my phone right before we got on, I saw the headline. I was like, oh, okay. What the heck is that?
Well, it's interesting, but it is about money. And somebody was talking about money. Is that Deborah Harris? The state will still get their money. For example, back, I guess it's a few years ago, when I participated in both the federal or state organization, and we did work in Dearborn. They did everything. Dearborn did everything to keep the cases in their local court. Even if they were felonies, they tried to keep them in the Dearborn court because I guess they wanted the revenue, and they knew that people would be punished the way they thought they should be punished. So, before, it's like a domestic violence is a misdemeanor, but that's handled by the county prosecutor. There's a lot of things that people don't understand. So, let's, for example,
time for a break.
Yeah, I was just going to say we haven't had a break. Thanks, Allan.
And then we'll get back to
homeownership. Opportunities are rising in the city of Detroit, and there's a house out there that's right for you and your family. You don't even have to worry about credit or getting a loan. You can win a house for as little as $1,000 and pay for the renovation cost as you go. It all starts at buildingdetroit.org and the Detroit Land Bank Authority. Our auction and Own It Now programs offer a variety of houses and neighborhoods all over the city of Detroit. These homes are in desperate need of repair and new ownership. You can begin by going to our interactive map and detailed property listings to find the right fit for you. It won't be easy, and renovation costs are not cheap, but our compliance team is there every step of the way. We will help you track your progress and connect you with local discounts to save you more money. We have already sold more than 15,000 homes in the city of Detroit, and our inventory is shrinking fast, so you don't want to miss out on this wonderful opportunity. Start your home buying journey today by visiting buildingdetroit.org. Homeowners.
Oh, we're back, Detroit in black and white. I forgot what I was getting ready to say.
Well, let's talk about Queen Bee's. Queen Bee, not Queen Bay. That's somebody else.
She said they did address domestic violence if it's a misdemeanor, it's properly going to be handled by the city. Um, Dorian says petty crimes, city money grab. Now you'll have cops writing tickets for frivolous petty crimes. They'll get the revenue from the citizens to pay for it.
Both
Um,
of them make a good point, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Because it may be resolved at the city level of domestic violence if it's a first time offense, et cetera, et cetera. But a Wayne County prosecutor is going out to those district courts to handle those cases. And as Dorian's talking about, when it comes to revenue, a lot of these things,
That's right.
you know, in the 70s, speeding was a crime. Now it's a civil infraction. So
Right.
it's handled basically in civil court if it's just speeding, right? So I can see a move to make some of these charges civil instead of criminal, but I'm a little confused by the actions of the city and the Wayne County prosecutor.
And Dorian makes a point. Dorian says, don't forget the city needs revenue. Getting someone to pay $100 ticket for having an open bottle of liquor is bad. You're absolutely correct, Dorian. There's going to be a lot of us in court over stuff like that. And this is the thing. When you talk about, let's get back to, when you talk about a city where you have a lot of people that are unemployed, unhoused, uneducated, good luck with getting this money from these people over these tickets. Good luck with that. Okay.
By the way, Bridge Detroit says Mary Sheffield said why she opposed it, said there's, quote, no pressing need, close quote, take on prosecutorial duties in Wayne County, and the move has a negative physical impact for Detroit. She argued it's best practice to have all prosecutorial decisions, quote, lie at the feet of an elected official who is elected to perform such duties. In doing so, ensures accountability and transparency. Lastly, and in my opinion, there are more critical needs for the identified funding, such as the current ARPA-funded programs and initiatives slated to end. This is Mary Sheffield saying, I would much rather allocate $700,000 towards keeping residents, particularly our young people, from committing misdemeanors in the first place, because, as the old adage says, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So,
well, you have to be pretty good to stop people from committing crimes. So maybe that's why she's going to be the mayor, because she's going to figure out a way to stop people from committing crimes. I get the point, but
well, you know, it's interesting. I've been told, from some young people that that Mary Sheffield particularly appealed to a younger group of residents, that she looked at the hip hop community in a more positive way and didn't have disdain like some maybe older generational people, and that she's the choice of the young.
But this is the thing, though. They're not voting.
And that may be.
They don't vote. So, I mean, what does that mean? They don't vote, as evidenced by what we saw, what we've seen in the last few years. So, I mean, yeah, she's appealing to them, but they don't vote. I remember talking like right after the primary, how they had these gentlemen standing out right there on Livernois, the Avenue of Fashion, all these new businesses. And I forgot to add that they were standing in front of a business that they had opened. And they said they didn't vote. Yeah. These are the very same people that supposedly she appeals to. So
thanks,
I don't
David.
know what that means. It means nothing as far as I'm concerned.
Terry McCrimmon says fans go to baseball, and football games. I think he meant basketball, and they walk down the street during those games all the time with a cup of beer in their hands, and it's true, and I think it's I mean,
Allan, do they have for these games? It's a great point, Terry. But tailgating is going crazy in Detroit, and is there a district? What do they call it? Like an entertainment district where people are allowed to do some of these things? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I mean, Trenton they do have an entertainment district now during certain times. At Wyandotte, probably Royal Oak, some of these communities.
Ferndale, I believe, yes.
Can walk down the street with beer from one bar and walk down the street.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Detroit has that or not. That's a great question.
So, the French Quarter.
Gloria says Eastern Market has it. I don't know because I don't go to those things and I don't drink beer. So, I would not know that. But it seems to me that would be, if you're going to start giving people tickets for walking down the street with a cup of beer in their hand or whatever, that's definitely going to be a deterrent for people to, like, I'm not even going to bother to go down there and do that. I'll go somewhere else and tailgate. And you don't want to do that. And I have to agree with Councilwoman Sheffield's comment, part of her comment at least, that listen, let the elected officials take care of this. Don't ask the city of Detroit to be prosecutors to do something like that. Misdemeanors. I'm like you, Jim. It's different when you're talking about a civil, civilly, but come on now. But they passed it. Your city council people passed it 8-1. So
I think we see a lot of, and Vanessa, you know, being a lawyer, I think you see some of the suburbs where they have city prosecutors who prosecute some of the maybe DUIs and certainly traffic violations. So I don't know how that's going to work, but they have to set that up. It's like setting up a whole new department. So.
Agreed. Yeah, I think it's a massive operation, a massive decision.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's some logic there.
You have to have somebody collecting the fines because we know, as you know, a lot of people don't pay their fines. And
that's why I said good luck with that. Speaking of fines, I forgot I got a ticket. I got to go pay that doggone ticket. I just remembered. I remember every other day to pay that ticket. I'm going to write it down and make sure I pay.
So how did we get off on this? We weren't even going to talk about the probate court and courts and.
Oh, you talked about probate court. Yeah.
I hope we didn't bore our viewers.
It looks really, really foul that you have a judge, her face plastered on the paper, in the newspapers, with these type of allegations. It looks really, really, really bad. I hope that it does not turn out bad, but it looks really, really bad.
She's still on the bench, am I correct?
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I've been over there, but I don't do evictions.
We have. To me, it's like when there's the optics are. It's like Gabe Leland was on the bench for maybe a year and a half.
Who was this?
Gabe Leland, the former city council member. He was on city council for maybe a year and a half while he had these charges. Initial charges were bribery. Eventually, they got shifted over to state court for a violation of some campaign finance laws or whatever. But he was voting on contracts and stuff like that, and all the people were like, "Oh, well, he hasn't been convicted of anything." But I don't care. It's like Channel 4, put Hank Winchester on leave, administrative leave, while something was pending because the integrity of the station. I mean, now it's been cleared. I don't know if I think he may end up going back there, but. We have to keep some integrity. I mean, the city council we've had some problems with the city council over the years. And I mean, one of my pet peeves is the, hiring relatives, and God bless his soul. I like Coleman Young, but his mother is his chief of staff. And I just don't think it's a good look,
So Terry McCrimmon says, well, if Trump and Kash Patel FBI, then he's a little skeptical of them going after Democratic judges. Well, here's the deal. The investigation went all the way back to 2016. So, and they started it. Did they start the investigation before then?
I don't know when it was. All I knew is they started before.
They started the investigation. I'm thinking they started the investigation before then, but they didn't start doing those. They didn't execute those search warrants until October, right before the election. So that's right before the president, the president that we have now, and it's right before Kash Patel.
So I understand what Terry's saying. I hope he's wrong, but I think we need and this is with ICE, some of the things that are going on with
He
ICE. And
is hilarious. I'm sorry for laughing.
oh, go ahead. But we need to have a little faith in the criminal justice system, including these federal task force and these federal officers that are doing their job. And I think that in the last 10 years, some of these federal units, federal organizations have been politicized, but I don't think these cases end up in the federal district court based on what Kash Patel or whoever thinks. So I think these cases, go ahead, Allan.
No, I was going to agree with you on that. I think,
Yeah.
look, I think Kash Patel, I mean, he's way over his head. Dan Bongino, they brought in for the first time a second deputy because really Dan Bongino isn't qualified and neither is Kash Patel. But I think here they're developing their own cases. What happens is they get tips, whatever, they start developing a case. They get, particularly when it's public officials, they get the okay, the green light from headquarters there. But, look, the interim U.S. attorney here is a career prosecutor. I don't think there's that much. I don't think there's a memo saying go after every Democratic politician you can find. I think for the time being. But I mean, what we did see near the end with Trump over the election in 2020, he was directing the U.S. attorney, and William Barr, the attorney general, was directing the U.S. attorney here to find fraud in the election. And the U.S. attorney here, who did a good job, he didn't find any fraud. But I think that's when you see the politics kind of playing into it, like find me some fraud. There
are brave people out there in the legal system. Jeff Sessions, whether you like him or hate him, he was a guy that said, "No, I'm not going to go this way."
Yeah. Jeff Sessions, surprisingly, I was shocked. He was the stand-up guy. William Barr was not. But that's
speaking of fraud, I am going to go back to the story. That story that you started off talking about, Allan. I thought I read where one of the lady that owned the guardianship company, she had taken a plea out of Oakland County for fraud and signing people, voting for people, and the voting for those people that she was the guardian of. She was voting for them. So, Oakland County, she had already taken a plea. I guess that's why they call her a criminal. She had already taken a plea a few years ago. But to continue on, if this is true, to continue on a criminal trajectory, that's wild to me. That is crazy to me. You already got in trouble for messing with older people by saying, "Oh yeah, he voted for, is voting for such and such," and you took a plea saying that you did it. You said you did it. And then you continue on that trajectory.
Does that surprise you?
To me.
Does that surprise you though? You must see it, repeat offender.
I do, and you know what I tell people? Like I've had a client, and somebody got in contact with me about some things that they were doing, and I said, "Look, you need to cut it out." They say you're doing it. I didn't, because I wasn't there. All I could tell you what they said that you're doing. Cut it out. Cut it out.
People,
whether or not they follow my advice or not is a different story. But you're right. I have seen people do that. And I'm like, something has to be wrong here. Or maybe it is that's the criminal mind. You don't give a doggone. That's the criminal mind. And you just doing whatever the hell you want to do. And because you got away with this, you took what's the plea? Okay, so what? I got a conviction. I don't care. Give me another one. That's crazy to me.
When I was in D.C. at the Washington Post, I was doing a story on Congressman William Jefferson out of New Orleans, who was eventually busted for bribery, taking a bribe, dealing with Africa and some copper wire internet stuff, And I was working on the story. I did a lot of stuff, and I broke the story about him hiding money in the freezer. That was the bribe money that the FBI had given. And I interviewed somebody from the Department of Commerce, and she said to me, Because there was a whole group of Congress members who were going to Africa all the time, trying to develop American businesses in Nigeria and all the other countries around there. And this person told me, she says, I said to Congressman Jefferson, I said, the word is in Africa, you're on the take. And I said, well, what did he say? And she said, just shrugged his shoulders and said, so eventually he got caught up in an FBI sting. And here's a guy, a lawyer, had a tax degree. I think he might have had his law degree from maybe Harvard. He had a tax degree from Georgetown. Bright guy, nice, gentlemanly guy. And, he just got greedy. He just got greedy. And money does strange things to people,
So I think Detroit does not have a social district, or we're not sure about a social district. I know Teresa was following up on that.
Yeah, I don't know if we have a social district or not. Like I said, I wouldn't know because I don't.
Yeah.
Well, I've
seen one.
Really
I can tell you this.
Huh?
I can tell you this from 15 years of going to Lions games. And I usually, when I went, I would go in the casino first. You're not walking out of the casino with a beer. I can tell you that. And I don't think many of the bars downtown, they don't want to get hit with a fine. Right. So they do not allow people to leave their establishments. Now, tailgating is a different animal. People are arriving with their alcohol, but there's plenty of alcohol down there on a Sunday game day. I can tell you that. So.
I haven't seen that, but I have seen, I can't remember, it's Ferndale, Royal Oak. They have little signs on the sidewalk. It says no beer, or alcohol.
Beyond this point.
Beyond that point. But I've seen that in Detroit, and maybe they have it. I just haven't seen it.
They have a plan. The Wayne County prosecutor has a plan. I'm just not sure anybody knows.
We won't know what it is. Probably we'll see what it looks like next July, right? July 1st, 2026. We'll see what that looks like. So, goodness. Now, Queen Bee obviously has you. You mentioned Coleman Young, the son, Allan. And you talked about his mom having a job, and Queen Bee says a vote for him is a vote for his mother, which is hilarious to me. She said if he wasn't in politics, he wouldn't have a job. She says if he runs for president, it will be the Young Calvert ticket, because she'll surely be selected off rip as his vice president.
So can we go ahead?
Hilarious. Queen Bee, you are hilarious.
His mother is a very smart woman. I'm sure she's very able, but it just doesn't look good when you're hiring your family for positions.
I personally didn't have her. I think I've said this on the show. It doesn't bother me. It does not bother me at all. He knows that she qualified to do the job. Everybody knows she's working there. She's getting paid to do the job. I personally don't have a problem with it.
Is he going to be able to fire his mother?
It'd be different if it was.
Mom, you got to go.
Said that before. Yeah, he could say, "Mom, you're not doing your job. You fired." Is he likely to do it? Probably not. Okay. Sure. And David Porter says if it wasn't for his name, Coleman Young Jr. wouldn't have a job.
I think he's a very smart. He's a very smart guy, but. I don't like it. Just gives it the small town feel of like anything goes, and I just think there's so many other competent people in the city. It's not, I mean, we have people, growing up in the city and going to University of Michigan, Michigan State, Wayne State, going to law school. There's so many people that could be hired that are able. And it just isn't a good, I mean, look, politics is all about when there's conflicts of interest. It's about optics. It's like Clarence Thomas saying, I'm voting on stuff that my wife's involved in, but hey, we don't speak. We have a wall there where we don't speak about the subjects. First of all, I don't believe it. Second of all, you're in the same house and possibly the same bed. I'm sorry, there's an optic there.
I don't want to be a part of that conversation.
Right, I'm not going to bother. I'm not going to touch that. But I will say that Dorian Denard says the treasurer of Wayne County has his family on the payroll. I don't know who he's talking about. Queen Bee says he's right. David Porter is spot on, according to Eric Brown. basically saying that if his Coleman Young Jr.'s name wasn't Coleman Young Jr., he wouldn't have the position that he has. Edward A says Greektown has a zone for alcohol before the street repairs. Um, and Jill Sheridan and David says possibly.
That's Allan. Allan is
That's funny. Terry McCrimmon said nepotism has been going on since dawn of time. Look at Trump, Ivanka at one point. He
I'm
makes
just bringing it up possibly because there's always talk that Trump and Melania don't sleep in the same bedroom.
Right.
Which that's easy to believe.
And Deborah Harris agrees with me. She has the same opinion. She's of the same opinion that she doesn't have a problem with Coleman Young's mother working for her son. Somebody, for me, is somebody that you can trust. And listen, since he's been in office, he has not been involved in any scandal or anything. He's
an honest guy. I think he's an honest guy.
Exactly. So it'd be different if you had the family and friends that's not qualified, right? That's taking money, petty cash, taking money out the petty cash drawer. We've seen that scene before. Hopefully we won't have a rerun. Okay, I hope y'all, the listeners are listening to me. We've had that before. Hopefully we won't have a rerun. But the bottom line is this guy has not been embroiled in any controversy, nor has his mom. So I personally don't have a problem with him or anybody else that may have a relative working in the same office as they are working, as long as they're doing the job and they're being honest, and as long as they're qualified to do the job.
Okay, I disagree. I don't argue. That's one point, but I just think the optics are just giving a small town look, and I think it's just too hard for if I have no idea the dynamics in that office, but it's just not good to have your mom working with you.
Can we quit beating up on Detroit and go somewhere else for a minute?
Right.
I want to quit beating up on Detroit. I've got somebody to beat up on. It's Jill Sheridan. No, I'm kidding.
Right. So you said, Allan, it gives the small town feel. If you looked at the numbers from the what am I trying to say? The census, it is a small town.
She's probably guiding him by that. She's probably giving him some.
It's not a big fish town. This is a small town. Okay.
My guess is she's giving him some valuable guidance, whether she should be there or not. I will suggest that she's probably.
We all have our parents at our job saying, "Wait a minute, don't do that. What are you doing?" Yeah.
Right. Salute.
He's the boss. He's supposed to be the boss.
Right.
Yeah. I wanted to go beat up Hamtramck because we've been kind of beating up on Detroit. I'm trying to figure out what the heck's going up in Hamtramck. The mayor up there, the former mayor.
God, it's crazy. Go ahead, Jim.
Amir Ghalib. I guess the U.S. ambassador in waiting to Kuwait is a native of Yemen. In March of 2024, he appointed a new police chief, Jamil Al-Tahiri. He was also born in Yemen. He was in charge of the NYPD's Office of Equity and Inclusion, interestingly enough. Max Garbarino, former police chief of Hamtramck, was ousted, I guess, in 2015. They hired him back a couple years later for a different job, and eventually he ended up as the city manager. He's also been removed. He's been fired twice from the city of Hamtramck. He's an attorney.
Right.
I don't know what's going on. So the state police say they have no investigation. Well, they hired a law firm, and I don't understand why they're so hard on the chief. He went to a strip club with a couple of his guys, destroyed some evidence, filed some false police reports.
He
drove drunk in a police vehicle.
You don't see why there's a problem, right?
I'm kidding. I mean,
the interesting thing is, I watched.
Where them dollars at? What?
I watched one of the meetings where the city manager went there, and they had already put on leave the chief, and they put on leave the officer, and the mayor was mad. Look, it was the first Yemeni police chief, so they were very proud of that. But the guy was involved in a lot of stuff, and so the contract is with the city that the police chief cannot be removed by the city council, but he can be removed by the city manager. So the city manager went and looked into some things and put him on administrative leave. Well, Mayor Galib was so mad. He said, "Why did you do that? You should have come to us first. You should have given him a chance to defend himself." And then the law firm report says he should be fired because he didn't act quick enough to suspend.
So there's also a story on Deadline on this, right? Don't you have? Were you covering this?
Yeah. What's going on in Hamtramck is why.
Then you have 2 council members who are under indictment for voter fraud, for taking absentee ballots, buying them from naturalized citizens and voting, putting the votes in there. The city is a mess. And Mayor Galib is now, he's still mayor till the end of this year.
Oh, he's still mayor.
Yeah, he's still mayor. And he is now awaiting, the Dearborn Heights mayor just had a hearing for his appointment to Tunisia. And now Mayor Galib is waiting for his, confirmation to be Kuwait's ambassador. The Anti-Defamation League has been really pushing to try to derail that, saying he's posted anti-Semitic and racist things on Facebook, which he has, over time. I've met him. He's a nice guy, but he has put some stuff out there. And so I don't know if he's going to even get confirmed. Trump's going to push because he helped Trump get elected here in Michigan.
So I want to read a couple of the comments. Terry McCrimmon, we're talking about Hamtramck. He said, equity and inclusion, and yet they voted for Trump. Jenna overall is laughing. She has laughing emojis. David Porter says, "Let the dollar circulate" by Bill Weathers. All right. Gullah Geechee says, "One old problem, the sum. One old problem, the sum. Oh, one old problem, the same problem for them. They
know.
He's talking in South Carolina. I know what he's doing.
Can they know the? Wait a minute, I'm gonna get this together. Can they know the same people? Can they know the same people?
He's speaking in South Carolina.
Read Eric's. I do have a comment.
Gullah Geechee, I get it, Gullah. Eric says, well, there's always Chicago to talk about, and the denial by his mayor that there is a crime problem. I don't know if the mayor denied that there was a crime problem. They just don't want the federal government coming into Chicago.
No,
Go ahead, Allan.
They don't want the National Guard.
Right.
Exactly.
They've told the mayor had a press conference yesterday and said, "We've got a gun problem. We have a crime problem. We have problems with guns and shootings and stuff." He goes, "But you cut the budget for ATF, which deals with guns.
Right.
You've cut the budget for anti-violence things. Yes, we'll take more help from that, but we don't want the National Guard." And so Trump knows the judge in California just ruled that they illegally sent people.
Newsom, keep that tail.
So now he needs Governor Pritzker in Illinois to ask him to help. So he keeps putting down, he's telling him basically, the governor in Illinois is a piece of shit, but I welcome his call to invite us to come. They don't want the National Guard in it. They'll take more ATF, FBI agents to help fight crime, which they should.
We even talked about how they've worked in collaboration with the feds.
I just have one question.
I just think that, listen, this guy is not. I didn't vote for him. He is the president of the United States. Is there a gun problem? Yes. By putting federal troops in these areas, these different cities, is that going to solve the problem? No. But guess what? You don't say nothing about people walking around with these guns that can be used as machine guns. There's no legislation being passed about that. Get the hell out of here with that nonsense. You are insulting me and insulting my intelligence as far as I'm concerned. Get out of here with that.
I'm just disappointed.
Stop using people, because that's what you're doing. Go ahead, Allan.
I want to say that, look, the answer is, I think it's unacceptable when people say, "Hey, we don't need help. Crime is down." Crime is too high. It's too high in Chicago, DC, Detroit. So the answer isn't like, stay away from us. Crime is going down. Crime should be as close to zero as you could possibly get. We know that's not possible, but It should be closer to that. So yes, we'll take all the help you can get. Let's collaborate. Let's work together. Send us more ATF, DEA, FBI. Let's get more task force. Let's get the people who are committing the crimes all the time. Get them off the streets. You'll see a serious reduction in crime.
Listen, we're about to go, but I have to say this. It's easy for you to say, yeah, you do this, you bring in ATF or whatever, but it still does not solve the problem. When you don't have housing, when you don't have education, when you don't have employment, you're going to have a higher crime rate. So you can send all the National Guard wherever you want to send them. It's still not going to solve the problem. So listen, if the optics make you feel good, then so be it. But the reality is it's not going to make a difference. And I don't care what the citizens said on MSNBC and CNN, okay? It doesn't matter. If you don't address the real problem, all you have is optics.
And David, they're not I'll say this, David. DOJ, DEA, FBI, ATF, and the National Guard, they're not the police. So they're not going to solve the problem.
Well, there are task forces where we see DEA, ATF, even IRS, whatever.
Different deal, though.
We have task forces, but
they're not enforcing street crimes.
Yeah, the problem is National Guard aren't trained for street
crimes. They're not police.
They're not police.
I'm not suggesting they're not law enforcement. I mean, I started with the National Guard. They're the military. They're not the police. Right. These other organizations are involved in task force with local police agencies. They're enforcing the law. But you need real police is what I'm getting at.
Right.
Some DEA agent isn't going to go come on your domestic violence case.
I hate to cut us off 9:31 because I have some other things that I could say, but it is 9:31. It's time for us to go. Thank you so much, Jill, Eric, Janet, Gullah, Darren, David, Queen B, Janet, Terry, Jill, Sheila, David Porter. Thank you guys so much for participating. Join us again Friday evening at 8:30 p.m. Looking forward to talking to you guys, kicking it with you guys. Have a good evening. Peace.